What's up, Rich? How are you? Good. All right. You guys feel like we're in a hurry-up offense right now, right? I like it. Oh, that's right. You're late. That's penalty, delayed game.
I'm working.
Show up.
All right. Okay, we're back at it today. We got the sun out today. Yesterday was a little cloudy, so today we get the sun out. It's just something about the mood that it's a good deal when the sun's out, so we like that. And our guys are ready to go, and we got third down nickel, and everything's good.
Matt, based on what you saw from Mitch just yesterday, how do you feel about him for Sunday?
Yeah, he looked good. He was throwing the ball strong. He felt good. That's what I was, hoping for yesterday when I talked to y'all in the morning, and I thought everything he did yesterday, showed that, he's where we were hoping he'd be at.
You woke up feeling fine today, good to go for practice?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he's feeling good.
And in practice, do you have to ease him in at all in terms of throws he makes or things like that?
No, they do their warm up and everything. They do their stuff there, and footwork wise, and they get the shoulders and the hips and everything going there, and then we jump right into it. We go deep first play.
In a week like this against such a dynamic opposing offense, what gives you the most trust and confidence in Vic?
Oh, well, I have that confidence in him and his guys every week. I think that he's kind of shown what he could do, not only just this year, but in years past. He's seen so many different offenses. He's a complete student of the game from a coach's perspective. He's really smart. He understands it. He's seen it. His library's huge. Much bigger than mine, and so he's seen it all, and I think that that's a huge advantage when you have that. It's a good thing.
In these last 13 weeks, what have you seen and come to appreciate about him as a game week strategist, as he's taken apart an opposing offense?
Yeah, no, he does well with that, and the numbers, I think speak for themselves. And but again, I'll go back to he's been doing that. He's been a leader of successful defenses, and so when you have that, you feel comfortable. That garners trust from your players. They know that, they feel it. He has his own teaching styles of how he teaches and reaches his players, and he's been successful. Yeah.
When you have him coming off a break like this, is there anything you can do to make sure that whatever rust there might be is shaken off? Is there any extra work or anything that can?
No, I mean, he just does his normal routine, so he always gets extra work. So now he'll do that. But we also see it's a little different now because we want to make sure that we're not overdoing it. So there's that. You want to make sure that you're not. He's getting enough to where it's comfortable, but yet he's not doing too much to where it's becomes a hindrance.
Does that change at all the way you script the first 15 or so?
Nope.
Is there anything more you need to see from him to be sure he's ready to go Sunday?
I think just the repeated success that he's doing in practice in regards to how he feels, in regards to how the throws look. The other thing too is when you're out for a little bit for a few weeks and you're not necessarily in the huddle calling plays and doing it, those little things. Now it's easy to jump back onto it, but I thought yesterday that part of it too was getting his command back in the huddle. The little things that everyone's so focused in on the physical side, but there's a lot of other parts of it too. The intangibles of being a leader in the huddle, what you're like in the classroom, and so he's been good with all that.
Same with the chemistry that he's built with the guys.
Yeah. I think for it's a transition for our own players on offense. All of a sudden, you have a new teacher, right? And a new teacher, substitute teacher comes in, and it's a different voice, and you're trying to figure out, do I like this teacher or not? And with Chase, Chase came in. They know how he works in the huddle, and he's a guy that was able to get everybody in and out, and so there was immediate confidence from the players around him with Chase. Mitch, he was really, everybody being new, he was developing that and building that. Stepped away for a few weeks, and now yesterday being back in the huddle, it's like riding a bike. You just get right back onto it. So it'll be interesting to see as he continues to feel good, how that works with the players too, with the offensive players.
Weren't you a substitute teacher?
I was. Yeah, I'll tell you that there was a grade that I struggled. Kindergarten, that was a struggle for me.
Stop it.
My favorite was I loved 7th and 8th grade. That was like the perfect age. But kindergarten, I'll never forget the day I went home and told my wife, I said, I'll never be a kindergarten teacher.
Did they?
Then I went into real estate, and then the recession hit.
What caused you the difficulty with
Kindergartners? Well, they don't listen. See, you know, it's crazy because I'm like weird about like eye contact and listen to me and, you know, and make sure that we're connecting. And I got none of that. So I was always just like, you know, I normally don't get frizzled, but I was frizzled that day when I left, and they had me, I was beat. They beat me up. I'm serious too. I'll never forget that day.
Did the kids the older kids try to pull a fast one on you because you were the sub? Did they think they had something easy?
The 8th and 7th grade, those kids? No, they were good. They got it. So no, they were easy, but that was a good age. You know, 4th and 5th is a good age too. 4th and 5th grade. So.
Kindergarten Cop?
Huh?
You didn't ever watch Kindergarten?
Yeah, I have. Is that with Arnold Schwarzenegger? Yeah. I'm not a movie guy, so don't quiz me in much more than that. I'll fall asleep.
How do 7th and 8th graders compare to pro football players?
See, this is great because all your time's being taken up on something that's not football. Say it again.
7th and 8th graders compare to professional football players.
Well, so matter of fact, I had Taylor Gabriel come up to see because right now we're in this part of the year where everything's monotonous. Like you guys are coming in here every day, it's the same thing, right? It's Groundhog's Day, and we come up here and I'm trying to break the ice with you, but it's the same thing with our players. They're hearing me talk all the time and install a lot of similar plays all the time. And so today we had, you know, I'm going to start having players come up and install the plays. And I always thought that was neat with, first of all, make sure they got to be paying attention because I'll call on you whenever. And then so Taylor came up and did a good job. He explained one of our plays, and so it's our guys do a good job with it now. And our own players they're critical now of their peers when they're teaching, but it's fun. We have a good time.
And we were talking to Sean McVay on the phone yesterday about play calling.
Yeah.
And he was very quick to point out that good players make for a good play caller.
Yeah.
And as you have grown into this role, how do you feel like the sense of talent, the sense of your knowledge of what guys do well, that process fuels each other, plus your strategic element of trying to figure out what guys do well and then get away from maybe what they don't?
Yeah, no, we're at that point right now where we're figuring out the identity, you know, individually who our guys are. And so now you can start creating some game plans specifically for those players. And so you don't go looking for it. It just kind of naturally happens with some guys. And then you stay away from certain concepts or plays, routes from you know your own players, and you feel it. And so the longer we're together, our players will come to me and say, "Hey, listen, I'm not feeling this concept. I don't really understand it, or can you tell me why?" And then now they do it. Now it's a good concept, and it's the same thing for me calling plays. I'm learning too. I'm not where I was. You know, football relationship-wise with Mitch right now because I haven't had the time with him than I was in year 5 with Alex. That takes time. When you get to that point, that's when the well-oiled machine starts rolling, and so that's what our ultimate goal is to get there. But there's some choppiness on the way.
And in that regard, McVay has had a little bit of a head start on you as a play caller, I think, with Washington. But he's obviously, it seems like he's very good at it. And I'm just wondering, when you scout them, do you learn from him? I mean, do you learn from watching what he does, the way he manages, not just calling the plays, but managing, keeping defenses on their heels, that kind of thing?
Yeah, schematically, no, he does a great job at that. I think he's really good. The nice thing with both of us is that I feel like we've been tutored and mentored by really good people and coaches that were in the game for a while. And so I have a ton of respect for Sean. I think the other thing that I think from what I hear from others that have either coached with him or know him well or better than me is that I think he has a great job connecting, and he's a really good teacher. So that's a big part of this deal here is you got to be able to reach your guys. And he does that. Now, schematically in the game, you see it. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. He has a quarterback. He's got players. He said it yesterday. Players are what make the plays. But he also does a great job of manipulating everything and making it work.
And Allen's been a guy who's usually been the #1 receiver when he has been healthy.
What have you seen on him this year where it's been more kind of spread around, but how he's approached that?
Yeah, so you're saying like where with him it was always he was the guy all the time. Yeah. No, I think going back to training camp when we first got him, I was trying to figure out myself, number one, physically how was he? Number two, how does he fit into what we do? What's his best routes that he does? And I'm figuring that out now. And then he is too. And then there's been a couple times, I'm not going to tell you when, but there's been a couple times where he's said to me on the field, "Hey, give me this." And the very next play, I give it to him. And so I love that. And give that to me. I want, when players are feeling that way and they want something, I want to know. And we weren't doing that the first couple weeks. Now we're getting to that part.
What more do you need to see out of Mitch, Matt, to let you know that he's 100% ready?
Yeah, well, I think he said it yesterday. So yesterday was his true first day of really being, of being back, 100% and getting into it. And so he's at a point where he's 100% participating, and I think that's he hasn't had that. So let's put together another 100% participation day and make sure that he's feeling good. And if he does, then it's go time. So we're I said yesterday I feel good about where he's at. I thought yesterday the way he threw, he did nothing to change my mind, and so we just want to keep connecting those days together, and ultimately, the goal is to get him out there.
Are you restricting him?
Chiefs game yesterday.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a really entertaining game for anyone who watched it. I'm just curious, as someone scouting a future opponent, what that was like watching that specific tape with the amount of plays and the back and forth and just how that,
Yeah. Well, first of all, just kind of having familiarity in both of those offenses, in particular, obviously the Chiefs one. You appreciate the designs of the concepts on both sides, and it was a heavyweight fight going back and forth, and it was going to be which one not so much had the ball in the end, which it kind of was, but it was also which one was going to make the big play at the big time. And they had a couple opportunistic sacks in LA, which they do every week with those guys, and but it was fun schematically knowing how Kansas City does things and the why part, and then seeing what Sean did on offense to them. And so it was great for the league. It was fun to watch, and it was just neat.
Matt, getting back on top of that, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
When you were in Kansas City, you guys play California teams in the cold now.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an advantage there? And if so, how? I know some coaches think it's easier to throw because the receivers know where they're going. Some think it's harder.
I think by player, where they come from, what they're, were they on a team that played in the cold for several years? Were they a team that's always been West Coast, where they're always in the warm, or down south? The Dolphins game for us, you guys asked me the similar question: is the heat effect? Well, no, we have guys that played down there that know it, and so there might be. I think more than anything, it's just maybe more mental on how people handle it mentally. Do you handle the heat really well? Now that might be a little physical there, but the coldness is probably more mental than anything.
Matt, piggybacking off of that, the Rams run like 98% of their offense out of 3 wide receiver sets. Yeah. What sort of makes them difficult to plan for, despite sort of knowing what personnel set that you're getting?
Well, you know what personnel you're getting. Like you said, 98%. It's that Sean does a great job of matching things up, is to keep it simple. So he does multiple things from multiple formations, and when you do that, it's anytime things come in sets of 3, it's hard. So, and he does that in a lot of his formations. All right.
Thanks, man.
All right.
Okay.
Do you think a defensive player can be the NFL MVP this year? And if so, Aaron Donald, what do you think?
Probably, I see no reason why he can't, Wyatt's always a offensive player, but seems to be having a good enough year to be considered for that for sure. There's been a few guys over the years that have done it defensively, but not many.
The more spread offense we see, is having a good pass rusher on the interior kind of one way to slow it down because he's just starting closer to the ball?
Correct. The ball's getting out quicker. There are some shorter drops than there used to be, and that guy can impact the game. But a great player at any position is always welcomed and will make a difference. Great player, good size, good speed, runs hard, got great vision, does a really good job in their running game, their zone schemes of how to find the open area, hit it and get it. And he's an excellent receiver out of the backfield, too. So he's a complete back.
Nick, there was a stark difference statistically between before the Barkley 22-yard run and after. What was that much of a game-turning play, or what happened? What caused it?
Well, that play in particular, we were in a defense because of the situation that they would make some yards rushing, not 22 of them. We poorly leveraged the play on the backside when it came back out. And so that was more of a scheme for some of the yards, but that it went for 22 was just poor fundamentals.
But then after that, the defensive performance after that seemed to wither.
He had the other big run, the first start of the first play of the overtime where we played it very poorly inside. But those two runs were the ones that he got most of his numbers on.
What do you see in how frequently and how effectively the Rams use play action?
They use it a lot, and they're very effective with it. Their whole first and second down offense is based on the quarterback being under center the majority of the time, and they marry their run game and passing game together better than anybody has, and they're very productive with it.
What have you come to appreciate about Sean from afar, just as a play caller and what he's done to put his imprints on that offense?
He's done a great job, obviously. I like that he's got a simple but yet very effective offense that creates conflicts for the defense, that they marry their running game and passing game together in such a really good fashion. I've always been impressed with him. I remember a couple years ago, not too long before he got hired by the Rams, speaking to a general manager in the league, and he was asking me about offensive coaches to consider because he thought he might be looking for a head coach, and I mentioned his name to him. That's how highly I thought of him back then, even before the success he's had.
What are some of the things that impress you about Goff, running the show?
He runs the show very well, as far as the play action game, the running game. He does his part in making everything look the same, and then he comes up out of there firing very accurately. And they're not throwing a lot of short passes. They're throwing the ball into that 15, 25-yard range and beyond. And he's a very accurate passer in those areas, and he's done a great job with this offense.
You and Sean McVay both have good players on your side of the ball. To what extent is this an actual chess match, do you think, your play calling versus his, as far as making a difference in the outcome?
Well, that's the way it is every week, really.
Any different any more
No.
against a guy like him? Or?
No, other than he's really good at calling the game. He's got a really good scheme, and he's got really good players running the scheme, so that makes it tougher.
Headed back to Mass this week?
Pardon?
Headed back to Mass this week?
Can't give up, right? For sure, I'll be there.
Vic, what has allowed Kyle Fuller to be able to jump routes the way that he has this year?
I just think it's an overall process of him gaining confidence through the time that we've been here and through the ordeal that he's been through his first 3 years in the league. Putting in the time and study and being prepared.
Does it impress you at all that, just on kind of a human level, that he had the play at the start of the year where he dropped the interception against Green Bay, and he's come back from it to have the year that he's having?
Mm-hmm. No, it's always good to see a guy come back, but he hadn't come back by luck or happenstance. He's worked hard. He works hard mentally in preparation, he was on the field, and he's done a good job preparing, and it's paid off.
What do you think when you see a player like Akeem Hicks, one of your guys, getting a chance on offense to score and be involved in a play like that?
I don't think a whole lot about it, other than I'm happy for the success of the team. Obviously, if we can use a guy or two from the defense to help the offense, I'm all for it.
Offensive players can play defense.
Have not. Pardon me?
Is there one player that
I don't think so.
Matt's been talking to us really, whether he's been talking about the Rams this week or even his own offense going back to training camp, the importance of running multiple plays, the same formation, and stacking plays on plays. As a defensive coordinator, how does that stress
The defense and make your job so difficult.
That's always the best way to be offensively, is to do a lot of different things out of the same looks, and when it's run and play action and they look the same, those are always the toughest to defend.
You said that, each week is kind of a similar challenge, but, the teams like the Rams, the Saints, the Chiefs, they're not only prolific, but they're consistently prolific, except for the Cowboys last week. How daunting is that for somebody like you and your defense to face a team like this that is so prolific?
Very much so. They're really good. Like I said, they got really good players, really good scheme, really good play caller. It's a tough assignment, no doubt about it, as evidenced by what they've done. But we got to show up.
Did the Cowboys game against the Saints at least give you some hope that the defenses can at least catch up to some extent to these?
I didn't see any of the game, so I've never bought into, there was a couple questions that in here a couple weeks ago after the 54-51 game that is this the new way of the NFL? I didn't. You guys heard my answers, and that was the talk of the week. But these guys and the teams you've mentioned are very capable of scoring into the mid-30s to the high 40s. Very capable.
We did speak to you about that a couple weeks ago. Is there a level of excitement in a way to say, hey, make a statement on behalf of defensive football in this day and age? For you, going up against an offense like this?
Well, we'd like to make that statement every week, knowing the assignment this week is tougher than usual, but, that could happen any week in the game, any week in the league. So, yeah, we accept the challenge and know that it will be hard, and know that they will make some plays, and hopefully we'll make a few of ours and come out on top.
It seemed 54-51 when we talked to you a couple weeks ago. Now that you're going through it on some of the Rams film, anything that jumps out to you about it?
It just it doesn't have to be that game only. All the games you look at kind of resemble that, and they're just really good, and I hate to be vanilla and repetitive, but really good scheme, really good player caller, really good players.
Are there traits
that equals whatever they're averaging on offense?
Sorry, are there traits that Mack and Donald share?
That's that they're both great players. Obviously different positions, so the physical traits are different. But but they both play tenacious, both play with a love of the game, I think, and both held out, and both got rewarded handsomely. You'd have to give me a list, but I don't like to say one or the other, but they're in the top 5.
Vic, how have you seen Eddie Jackson ride some of the highs and lows? Even of the last 3 weeks, the pick six, the Odell Beckham play. How has he come through all of that mentally and with his focus?
Good. He's like I told you before. One of Eddie's best attributes is that he doesn't panic on the field, and like you would think, and he doesn't panic or lose confidence when he has a bad play.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
locker room's open.
curious to get your read on Aaron Donald, how he impacts an offense, and if there's anything you can do to disrupt a player like that.
Well, my read is he's as good as they come. He's that they do a great job inside and up front in general of isolating him and being very creative in a lot of ways that are damaging to a front and to a quarterback and to an offensive plan. And so, yeah, absolutely, you have to account for him. But as soon as he's doubled or you hedge that way, then it's one of the other guys making a play. And then I think they have a great complement in the secondary of veteran guys that have seen a lot of stuff, and they put immediate pressure, or those guys up front create immediate pressure type of situations. The ball has to come out. They read routes really well. They keep the eyes on the quarterback probably a little bit longer than is traditional, and they're playing really well.
How have you seen their edge pressure evolve after the Fowler joined their team and with the emergence of a bit of Ebukam on the other edge?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of by virtue, it's inside out. When people hedge one way, whatever, you turn your center toward 99, then there's a bunch of single blocks. And, part of that enables Sue to create the problems he does, or, it just dominoes out from the inside. And that's what, obviously, we can't let that happen.
How do you make sure that as Mitch plays catch up here to get ready, that he doesn't overdo it in terms of throwing too much?
Just that. I mean, he is a guy that will overdo it. He's a guy that sometimes with things that guys deal with, it's the way it's like most guys that, just work harder, lift or strain, or, and sometimes that's the worst thing you can do. And so Mitch is a guy that you definitely have to pull the reins back on, which is a great problem.
What was your biggest takeaway on the execution of Oklahoma?
Well, it scored, so the execution was good, but it was ironic. We threw the second, there was kind of a second part of that route once, and it was the one that showed up in the game, and it was something we practiced, probably 100 times by now. Those guys made a great play. Anthony did a great job to fight to get across, and Tariq, made a spectacular play.
The decision to call that play in that moment, is that extraordinary? Just that it is a trick play. You got one play. You got one play to try to keep the game alive. It's
something, again, we've run a bunch, and we were kind of waiting to get in the right situation, and sometimes that has to do with hash or personnel or who's available or who we're going against. But it's something that I think guys had a lot of just positive equity in and build up to that moment. And when it came up, there wasn't a lot of hesitation.
For you guys to move the ball the way you did in the final minute 49 and scoring the 10, what was your main takeaways there, why that succeeded, and what finally clicked in that situation?
Really frustrating, right? That's the main takeaway is just take care of the ball. In the first half, if we just take care of the ball a little bit better, we're singing a different tune right now, but that's last week. But by the same token, I thought it was important, significant, big, whatever the right words are, of guys bouncing back. I thought in the first half we ran the ball a lot better than we had before, and then in the second half, we were in the kind of time and score dictated that we had to be in a different mode. But the guys competed to the end, and there's a lot to be said for that.
Your point about the running game, what needs to improve on first down to not have the 3 and fewer to keep you guys behind the sticks?
Yeah, that last week that didn't happen very much in the first half. Can't remember the exact numbers, but again, like it doesn't matter. We have to score. We have to take care of the football. It doesn't matter if it's a run. It doesn't matter if it's a pass. We want to do all those better. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely, 100%. But that aspect was better.
With Miller, how would you describe the process of appropriately finding his workload, if that makes sense?
That's the balance we're trying to find with all those guys. With Anthony's done some excellent things, and he's still young, and you're at this point of a season with our training camp, with our extra preseason game. He's already done with the college season, plus the bowl game, plus the conference championship. He's done. And so just balancing that, not only from a physical standpoint, a learning standpoint, he learns fine, don't get me wrong, but just the psychology of that is something that he's never dealt with. And so, whether it's him or Tariq or all those guys, all those skill guys, you're trying to find that sweet spot to make them play at as high a level as possible all the time.
From a learning standpoint, where is he at now? Because obviously you can load up a guy's plate and load it up and then give more, and then all of a sudden that's too much there.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on the week. He's like everybody, and I'm not speaking of him individually. Everybody kind of hits that, fire hose in the mouth or whatever that analogy is, moment, and that's again where we have to go. Okay, there's the line, and now pull it back, take him off this play, take him off this set of plays, whatever the case may be, and again we do that with guys all over the field.
Mitch talked about being more orthodox with his sliding. What can you guys do with him to make sure that, obviously his athleticism is taking over on the field, that he protects himself in the way that you guys want to, and he obviously wants to himself?
Yeah, if orthodox means playing next Sunday, we're for that. I don't know what that means, but what he means by that. But yeah,
baseball slide instead of the tumble or the sideways slide.
Yeah, you just have to, again, you have to balance the natural competitiveness, the urges, and common sense, and being smart. That guy's going to battle for every inch, and we love that. But we also want to fight every battle down the road, and so that's the delicate balance. Unfortunately, across the league, you see that people try to strike. It doesn't matter whether it's a run or a pass or whatever. Guys are, unfortunately, that happens every year. But finding that balance and a little bit of luck, good or bad.
Well, I was going to say Taylor Gabriel has kind of gone through the ebb and flow of the season here, and we talked to Coach Furry on Monday, talked about the quality of his route running and making sure that that's sharp. Where is Taylor right now overall with his level of play and attention to detail?
Well, I think that's a great way to put it, is attention to detail, consistency, all those things are we need to improve upon. And he's another guy that was from another team where he wasn't, quote unquote, the guy. And again, what I see as an optimist at heart is we see those 3 or 4 plays. We're like, okay, wow, that's what we want every single time. And when it's not there, that's, we feel like we're letting him down if we don't fix that. And so him being committed to doing that, us putting him in the right position, constant kind of developmental deal.
We've known for a while that Tariq obviously is a good pass catcher, but as you've watched his evolution, what makes him so effective as a downfield receiver, as a 5'6" guy who can catch balls 45 yards downfield?
Yeah, he's a guy that I think the quarterbacks have developed a rapport with. Just like you said early on, you can see, all right, he's video game movement, speed, but then also trust. They know he's going to be 10-by-2 at this spot on time, and that's a big deal. And he and Chase got into a rhythm last week for sure. He and Mitch have done that in the past, but he's a guy that is another guy that you try to, you'd love to have him in every single play, every single rep, every single route, but there's a balance for that too.
Thank you.
Oh, first phone. Oh, if it rings, you want me to answer anything?
Is it airplane mode?
Okay. Are you in airplane mode?
Go ahead. Johnny Heckard's throwing ability, how much more does that give you to worry about?
A lot. He's a really good thrower. I think he's their third string quarterback. Probably, I think the cut up since about 2012. There's about 35 odd plays that you have to account for. He's a good football player. So it's kept us up.
Chris, are you able to put your finger on why Cody's onside success has been what it's been historically?
No, well, he works at it. It's part of the routine that we do.
But he just has a great knack and a great touch with the ball on that. I mean, he does a great job for us.
What pleased you most about that whole sequence from special teams of getting that kick on Sunday?
Well, it kept us alive. You know, you make the field goal, and I think whatever it was, 120 left in the game, and you're able to extend the game and give yourself a chance to send it into overtime. So the guys did a great job on that, and I mean, it's glad it happened.
Dan Brown came pretty close to getting a punt there. What did you appreciate about your interaction with him, things he saw, and the way that you guys were able to develop it and kind of push it forward?
It's kind of something that we talked about on the sidelines, made a little sideline adjustment there. He's a smart football player, so the information that I get from him and a lot of the other guys also, it's true information. Sometimes there's information you get from a player, and then when you go back on the tape, that really was not the case. But with these guys, it has been the case, so I trusted that, and we just tweaked a little thing there and gave ourselves a chance.
You talked recently about being disgruntled with the kickoff return game.
Still am.
Okay. Yeah. You have options there. A player like Anthony Miller, would he be a guy you consider back there because he's had punt return experience at Memphis, and we see him out here obviously at least in that group?
Right. I still think everyone's an option, and that's just something we just got to continue to work through and get better at. I mean, that's been a disappointing deal. You don't get a lot of opportunities, but when you do get one, you got to take advantage of it.
What's your sense of what's missing?
Well, I just think that I mean, we've had a couple muffs. Some of the kick returns they've kicked off from the 50, so those are a little bit of something happened on the previous play, but still you're still trying to at least get that thing, we say, out to the 20, because they're going to kick it short and pin you inside the 20. So we're trying to battle that, but it's something that we're just going to keep staying the course on, and I got to do a better job of coaching them, and hopefully we'll reap those rewards.
Not to ask the Parkey question a different way, but are there guys who are just naturally better in onside kicks, and can you teach that sort of stuff, or is kicking such an individual deal that?
Some guys have a knack for it. Some guys have multiple kicks. Some guys can only kick a certain type of kick. It's kind of interesting when whatever opponent you're playing and you pull up all their onside kicks through their career. Some guys just have the same old one, and then there's other guys that have multiple ones, where they kick with their right foot or left foot, and those are the guys that you worry about. He has a couple.
For him to, make field goals in the Meadowlands, it's typically not an easy place to kick, especially late in the year. What did you sense from him and the steadiness overall ever since, you guys went down to the stadium and that whole week was?
Well, I think Cody, to be honest with you, I think Cody's being Cody. And I've never waned on that, and I'm not going to. He's just, like I say, I understand what's under the hood on that, and we still have work to do, and he knows that, and I expect him to do a great job.
And you guys are still going down? Obviously, it's the...
Yep. Went last night. Yep.
Matt took some questions after the game and then again Monday about the sequence at the end of the first half, calling timeout at 17 seconds, and expressed that he had confidence that you guys could get in a situation where you could come after a punt block. Obviously, I'm imagining your input is in there. What gave you guys confidence at that stage that would be something that might be?
I just think that, we have number 29 back there, and he's a dangerous factor. I think we can all agree that whether it's on offense or special teams, if the ball is in his hands, there is a chance. And to have another opportunity for him to maybe get the ball in his hands, I think that's what our area kind of thinks. And they were going to get the ball in the second half and those type of deals, so give yourself another shot.
What have you seen out of their returner, Natson?
Oh, fast. In fact, I compare him a lot to TC, to be honest with you. He's dynamic. He catches it and goes, and he can get to the edge quickly. And he's in size. He's not a big guy either. He's a small player, but he plays big, and he's having a great year. He's right behind TC in yards per return, so he has our attention.
Thanks,
guys.